The following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op.
Hello and welcome to the TrapNerds Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Duke Clark. With me today, Harry De La Cruz.
What up, dude?
Wreck-It Joe once again is not in the building.
Good to have you back. I've recorded with Joe since like 2021.
Oh yeah, you weren't here.
The one episode,
Yeah,
the one I've missed in like the last 8 weeks.
He said since 2020.
It's been crazy.
It's all right, man. Joe's just a guest now. That's all right. But yeah, big day of sports yesterday. National championship, March Madness finally done. We got to wait until late October now for college basketball to come back. UConn, was it 12th game, 13th game in a row? 12th game in a row in the tournament. I don't know if that's ever been done.
The record before was 6 straight double-digit wins or something like that. In the tournament, there's this 12.
And that's with covering the spread too, obviously.
The spread every single game.
So yeah, UConn, just another dominating. Got to be one of the best 2-year runs. I mean, they weren't that dominant before the tournament last year. Then they kind of turned it on. I mean, they were a 4 seed. They were a really good team, but they weren't. Right. But
yeah,
still,
from the tournament of last year on,
yeah,
has been one of the best runs of all time. One of the best teams of all time, in my opinion, for sure. This year's team.
Yeah, I mean, they had everything you want. Ton of experience, graduate guys, senior guys. They had what's like freshman's name that you Castle,
yeah.
Who was a 5-star. They had bigs, they had perimeter guys, they played defense, they moved the ball, they hit threes.
A lot of people are saying they would make the playoffs in the East. I don't believe that, but like that's the type of level that they're on. That
yeah,
a lot of experts have said that. That's insane.
Well, they should just lose their jobs.
Mike Greenberg was one of them. He's huge.
There's just I'm sorry, there's just no way, bro.
Yeah, but that's how good they are.
I know. There's just no way. These guys. So we actually will get into that. I want to kind of do something that Barstool did that was kind of entertaining to me. But yeah, dominant game. I actually this entire past week was like, I think Purdue's gonna get it done. They have Zach Edey, who was just absolutely playing out of his mind, and then they had the 3-point shot to kind of loosen things up for him. But then they just go into the game and they don't do any of that.
They just did not shoot the 3 at all. They didn't even try. Like Edey still had a great game, but they were obsessed with giving him the ball every single possession. And that's not how Purdue plays. Like they shoot the 3 as well as anybody in the country, and they just decided that wasn't what they wanted to do yesterday.
Yeah, and I think basketball is getting more back to the big man. Obviously, you see an NBA with like Joker, Embiid, and those guys, but it's just been so long since just like dominant big guy was the way to win.
Right.
And I mean, last year that's kind of what happened. They only basically had Edey, and they got one of the biggest upsets in the history. And then this year, I mean, they were more well-rounded as a team, and they just completely bailed on it. But I think it's because – so I did change my mind. I changed my mind Sunday. I was on the Tank Talk podcast last night. I ended up picking UConn to win just because the UConn does match up with Purdue so well. I mean, Edey had 37 points, but there was stretches in that game where he was just missing horribly.
Oh yeah.
So they have 2 defenders, Klingon and Hunter.
They got that Johnson.
Too,
yeah.
They had 2 guys who kind of could not match him, but like tire him down athletically with the size. And then you got a bunch of great perimeter defenders out there chasing him off the 3-point line. So he's not getting any rest. He's not getting any help. And they end up winning by 15. Probably could have won by a lot more than that. They just one of the most fun teams to watch. I hope Dan Hurley stays in UConn.
I think he will.
I don't know. I don't know what kind of bag Kentucky's going to offer him, but
it seemed like he was going to stay. Nate Oates is staying in Alabama. He already sent out a letter.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. I think Scott Drew's going to go to Kentucky.
Where's he at?
From Baylor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think Hurley's going to go anywhere when he's built it over there in Connecticut. They're a blue blood team. Like that's just what it is now. Duke, Kansas, North Carolina, Kentucky, UCLA, and Connecticut. Like they are one of the best basketball teams ever.
And it's crazy because they have more national championships than those guys. Even going back 30 years, I mean, it's just they've had spells in between where they weren't very good, where before Coach K, and I mean, even after Coach K, Duke's always there. North Carolina had a couple of years, but most of the last 3 decades, they've been there. Kentucky's always there. But it does, when UConn gets there, they win it. So it's like they can go 10 years without even making a tournament. They still have more national championships in the past
once they
25 years.
They're going on a run.
And now that they have Hurley, it's like he's him. I mean, what coach is there? You don't have Roy Williams. You don't have Coach K. And he would, even if those guys were still coaching, I feel like he's surpassed. I mean, you can't say surpassed them, but for the modern basketball, like he has.
He said it a few years ago when it was his second year in Connecticut. There's the video came out. He was in an interview after a loss to Villanova, and he was saying we're going to get enough wins for the seniors this year to send them off and be happy. He said, but then we're building up with our young players and our recruits. He said, so get us now. He said, because we're coming. And now 2 years later, 3 years later, he's won 2 national championships from that interview. Like, he knew this shit was going to happen. That's insane to me.
He's just, I personally, Jay Wright was my favorite coach before he retired. I think it would be sick if Jay Wright was still at Villanova. Like that'd be.
They asked him if he was going to Kentucky. He said no.
I just remember the old Big East back in the day. Like it would be sick to have that rivalry, a Philly Connecticut rivalry right there. I think would be the 2 best coaches in college basketball. But he retired now. He's getting the bag to not have to deal with anything. He is really good too. Yeah. But just quick stats. Newton led the way for UConn, 27-5. Spencer was the guy, even though his stats are not quite as good. He seems like the guy that does like every little thing that needs to win for them, like just passing it in and all that.
Yeah, he's my favorite player on the team.
Yeah. Castle, the freshman, 15-5-3. And then Purdue, it legit was Zach Edey. I mean, he's the only one worth mentioning, 37-10.
What Ken sent you?
He's so I can't stand this dude. So yeah, that wraps a bow on the 2024 college basketball season, man. It was a good one.
Yeah, Duke's the favorite for next year. They have Cooper Flag
coming
in and some other top 5 like NBA prospect. And I don't know. Connecticut's like the 3rd or 4th, and I just don't see how. They were showing like their projected lineup next year, and it was like all their backups this year. Like they're not even like their top. Like it was like their 5 starters and 6 men are gone, and they don't have like any great freshmen coming in. So I thought that was kind of maybe they
respect them that much.
Yeah, probably. Like maybe FanDuel just knows like people will want to bet them, so they don't want to give them good odds.
Yeah,
but.
I mean, you got to think. I don't think Purdue's going to.
Oh, Purdue's got it. Well, Purdue actually is going to have like their whole starting lineup outside of Edey, which I know is everything. Yeah. I kind of like Gonzaga for next year, though. They're returning like almost their whole starting 5, plus got a transfer coming in. Like maybe it's their time to get it. I want to see Mark Few win one.
Same. And they did their first 2 rounds. They did really well before just getting absolutely smoked by.
Last year they ran into UConn. Yeah, they lost the Sweet 16 last year. Yeah. UConn and this year to Purdue. Like so, at least they're losing to the absolute best teams.
Yeah, Gonzaga and Villanova was like my 2 teams for the past 10 years. So yeah,
Villanova was nice. They got a couple of them, but Gonzaga, they just never can get it done.
So I was watching I saw like a Barstool clip, and was it Caruso? Caruso was on one of the Barstool shows, and they asked him how many players in the NBA could go on one of the 16 seeds. So pick whoever your favorite 16 seed from this year or whatever, and could win the NCAA tournament. And I feel like
he said 27.
So I'm going to go through. We're going to go through. I'm just going to go through the NBA scoring leaders. We'll start that way. It's a pretty good list. And we'll just go through and say if we think it's going to happen or not.
It's just tough for me because a lot of those dudes that we're going to say already couldn't win on big programs.
Yeah, but you're talking about a couple
they're way better now, right?
You're trained, the body. I mean, think about a lot of those guys came in as they left as freshmen, right? Like, so they weren't nearly as strong, quick, skilled. I mean, a couple years in the NBA, not even the skill set, but the size, the strength, the conditioning. You're just immediately a better player at that point. I mean, you look at a 22-year-old college prospect compared to an 18-year-old college prospect. They're just better players. So we'll go through Luka Doncic. What, you're gonna triple him? I mean, what are you
just
gonna
gonna score at will and get a bunch of assists.
do? Giannis is just gonna foul out the whole team, which is
that's
what
what
Caruso
Caruso
said. Shy is it Shay or Shy? Shay. See, I'm more for the big guys. I'm like, yeah, for sure. But the smaller
thing about
guys,
SGA is like, I don't know. Let's say he plays on a 16 seed and they play Purdue. He's not going to be able to stop Edey, but he's going to score at will too.
he's gonna drop 50,
and he is going to rip people like crazy too. He's going to have like 7-8 steals. Yeah, I would say yeah. I would say yeah.
Jalen Brunson did get it done as a
that team was loaded
kid.
Though.
He's way better now.
He is way really better.
He's dropping 60 right there with Shea. Jalen Brunson, yeah. Kevin Durant, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Devin Booker.
He's a killer. I mean, he's gonna score 60.
Jason Tatum, yeah. No?
Yeah.
Fox.
He just, I don't know. Like,
see, I think all the bigs I'm 100% going in for, but once I start thinking about like just one guard, like if your guys can't hit shots and they legit can play you how the Raptors played Curry a bunch of years ago when everyone was hurt, like if they can legit do that, where it's just like box, like for basically quadrupling you in a zone.
Yeah, but even still though, like the passes that Fox is gonna make and those guys are gonna make are gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I guess if you don't legit triple him, he's gonna drop 50, and then there's gotta be
these
guys gotta at least be
all
able to
those
hit
dudes
a
are getting in
shot.
foul trouble. All their big men are going to the bench.
That's true.
Yeah, they're just driving every time if they have to.
Joker's winning by 30.
Yeah, Joker's crushing everybody.
Anthony Edwards, you think he's consistent enough?
His problem right now is he's just been settling for too many jump shots. But like if he knew that he was by himself, he should just dunk on everybody. So I would say yeah.
Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, Maxey.
So I'm gonna instead of going through all these names, I'm gonna ring off like 5 at a time, and you tell me who if I should stop.
Okay.
Maxey, Kyrie, LeBron, Lillard, Davis.
Yeah, those sound good. I mean, Lillard. Can he still do it? Because he's gonna have to do it with all jump shots.
You don't think he gets the rims?
He is. He actually is. I'm tripping because he's playing college. I'm thinking of him in the NBA.
Let's just see like if they can beat Purdue or if they beat UConn. Because if they can beat UConn, they could beat all the teams before that.
Yeah. I just feel like Castle defending Lillard, then him driving inside with Klingon down there is not going to be easy.
Yeah. And then, that's what I'm saying. The big guys, I think, get it done. Kawhi, DeMar, Jaylen Brown. I think this is where we start getting into I don't know if
Kawhi. I think Kawhi
yeah, but DeMar at this point in his career probably not. Jaylen Brown.
Nah,
he
can't
enough.
dribble.
Yeah. Remember I said that and you yelled at me?
Yeah, it was my guy.
Lauri Markkanen, I don't think so. Zion.
I don't think he can dribble enough or shoot enough.
So Paul George maybe.
But Zion should just body the shit out of everybody too, though. It's so tough. I would want to see a lot of these.
Yeah, I think it falls to the bigs, man.
Paul George, you said?
Yeah.
I think George could do it. I mean, he's a little older now, so I don't know if he has like the energy like to play 40 minutes and go hard every game, because that's what it's going to come down to. You got to play every minute and you have to go hard every minute.
So we're roughly around 20, I would say, because I think Cade would. Do you think Cade would probably have a shot? I think he's big.
Nah.
No, you don't think so? Paolo Banchero.
You have to do these 16 seeds suck for the most part, and they got to win every game, not just beat one team. They have to beat 6 teams.
Yeah,
Banchero's
so
good.
what are we around, like 20?
Yeah.
Right,
Cruz was at 27. I think that's a fair number. Between 20 and 40, somewhere in that area, because some of those dudes might surprise us.
And it depends on, like, a lot of times those guys will have one. If they have no good players but good shooters, I mean, that just the LeBron way.
Yeah, we did say Embiid.
Get inside, get out. Yeah, Embiid has been hurt, so he's not in any of the stat conversations. But Embiid, yeah, for sure would do it.
You think Bradley Beal would?
No.
Trying to think who else is out there. Wemby?
I mean, basically, he's just way better Zach Edey.
What about Curry?
Yeah. I mean, Caitlin Clark fucking almost beat. Not almost. They ended up losing by like 15. I think the final score was, but
she had her team wasn't as bad as like
she had one girl who was making plays with her though.
Well, in that game, but over the course of the year, they had a good team. These 16 seeds literally are horrible.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is with Curry, he's thinning out your entire defense. Like you legit not only you can't double him in the lane. You're gonna have to come and try and trap him on the. He moves around good. If you have one guy on him, he's pulling up every time from basically half court. He's probably hitting half of them.
Shit would be wild. What about Trae Young?
No. He sucks. They said he's got a podcast. I'm like, I don't want to listen to no NBA player who said that his job is boring when he literally plays basketball.
Yeah, it's
like fuck that guy.
And he's young as hell. Like it's not like he's like Draymond, like saying, "Man, this shit's getting on board now." So that's why I'm getting all these texts because I'm just fucking over it.
I think Wemby though. I think Wemby is a good conversation because Wemby is a way better Edey.
What about
he's bigger, longer, faster, can shoot.
What about Sabonis?
Can pass. Yeah, I really think I think all the best bigs are getting it done. Like a guy that you're gonna literally have to triple in the post. Like I said, you need a 16. I don't know anything about these 16 seeds, but you need a 16 seed that at least can shoot. Like if you have a couple guys like the dude from Oakland, that when you get tripled, all you got to do is hit a shot.
That's the key.
Yeah. So and when you talk about the guards and stuff who are kind of easily more taken out of the game, I think it's a little tougher. But like the guards that rebound too, like Luka and shit, who are gonna on the defensive side, you're not gonna get these offensive boards that usually leads to like the upsets in college basketball. Like that, I mean, that's what happened with UConn. They were getting like 3 offensive boards at a time sometimes.
Yeah, even their guards were like really good rebounders.
Like what is UConn doing with Wemby?
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, Cleveland's out here, man.
No, bro. They're not. They're literally gonna have to hit every 3-point shot because they're not doing nothing in the paint. This dude's getting like 9-10 blocks in the NBA.
No, Wemby's really probably the best player ever.
He legit is going to be probably the best player ever.
This shit's insane.
All right. So that was fun. I wish we could see it, but
yeah, I really would like to just see one player be able to do it.
I
kind of want to see Dame.
I will tell you, UConn has 0 shot at making the playoffs in the NBA.
Yeah, I never think like people are saying Caitlin Clark should be able to play in the NBA and shit. Like I hate that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, she can definitely catch and shoot, but like, what's she gonna do on defense?
They get annihilated.
She's gonna get killed.
Yeah.
I like this one meme. I think Dom sent it to the group. It said, "Why can't Caitlin Clark play in the NBA?" And it said Draymond Green.
No, I love Caitlin Clark. I think she's getting so much like backhanded compliments from like
they all like all the UConn girls and shit. They hate her, man.
All right,
she's
so
unreal.
Moving on. I did another. This will be my mock draft 2.0 for the show. Outside of the one me, Harry, and Tank did together. We kind of mentioned it. Calipari got fired. That's kind of worth not fired, but went to Arkansas. Went to Arkansas. So Kentucky.
And Eric Musselman went to USC. He left. That's why Arkansas's job was open. He's one of my favorite coaches. That dude's a beast.
He went to USC?
Yeah.
We almost Bronny declared for the draft.
Yeah, but he's just gonna test
reviews
and then he can transfer.
Bronny's the type of guy I think like needs to go to a program like UConn. He needs to go to a coach that's like, I don't give a fuck that you're a LeBron James kid. Like you need to play within this system and just learn ball. Like, I'm not saying that he doesn't know ball, but learn how to play on a winning team and not have a bunch of yes men around him, which I'm sure he has for his entire life.
Right.
Like your royalty.
I guess a lot of the NBA scouts' first feedback is that he's already an NBA defender. So if he can figure out how to become a better offensive player, I mean, I still think he can be a successful player.
I do.
It's just a lot of pressure coming.
Right now.
I guess like people like me expected, because he's LeBron's son. I just thought he would crush in college, and like he legit sucked, like averaged like 3 or 4 points a game or 5 points. So that surprised me. But it doesn't mean he can't still be a good player in time, especially if they're already saying he's like a elite defender at the NBA level.
And USC was already kind of a train wreck. He was coming off of the heart issue, so like you're gonna take some time to be like, can I even put in the amount of effort I need to put in? But I just to get that out of him. Like Dan Hurley, I feel like you go there, you're gonna get coached the right way. 1 year, maybe 2 years. He's gonna let you shine defensively. He's gonna let you do what you need to do, and then we're gonna see if he's the distributor that they kind of thought he was coming into college. So.
Yeah, I think
going
to
the NBA
UConn up there, like Ohio State, there was a few teams that they said they could see him transferring to, so we'll see.
I think going to the NBA would be a massive mistake for him, though. Because, sure, you can be a great defender and have a 9-10 year career, but just develop, man. We're seeing these guys I think we've seen a lot less one and dones the past couple of years, and it works. But
yeah, it's because the nil though, right, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Is that why people are not declaring as much now because they can make money in college? Or?
Well, that, and I think we haven't seen a lot of American talent come out. Like Brandon Miller was 2 years or one. He was a one and done.
Yeah,
Brandon Miller was a one and done. Scoot didn't go to college, but he was a one and done. I guess like he did the 1 year at G League.
Isaiah Collier from USC is I'm assuming is a one and done.
Yeah, we just haven't really seen a ton of elite talent coming out of America. I think that's why. But yeah, I think NIL will. Dan Hurley was talking about on Pat McAfee today. He was like, I think as a program, we're showing these kids that you don't need to do the one and done and come here and learn how to become a better basketball player. And you can still, like, we still have guys who are going to go in the lottery picks moving forward. Like you can do both. And outside of the injury concerns, I've never understood the like rush to get to the NBA.
I just think if you're broke, you want to.
Yeah. But with the NIL, that
that changes all that now. Because you should be getting paid for your work. I don't, when Zion played North Carolina, the tickets were thousands and thousands of dollars, and he's making no money or like legally making no money. I'm sure he's getting something under the table, but it shouldn't have to be like you have to sneak it like Reggie Bush did.
Yeah,
like that dude's selling all the tickets. Give him some bread. I don't care if he's a college kid. Like, they're paid for his college. No, give him money. He's putting all the fans in the seats and making you rich.
Yeah, I mean, I get to a point, and I've always agreed with that. Like, you should be able to make money and stuff. But I do get to a point like where it's like you're also being developed better. Like you're given a better. I think we'd have to look at the numbers on this, so I could be wrong. I haven't really looked too much into it, but I think you are given a better chance. Obviously, it differs program to program, but if you stay, and it's also different in football. Like you have to stay 3 years, but in basketball, like if you go to a good program and you're going to a place with good coaching and you're developing and you're learning how to be a better basketball player, I would like to see like the success rates. Because we see so many one and dones that just don't know how to play basketball. I mean, like Josh Jackson's a guy that jumps out of my mind. Like had every physical tool you possibly could think of, and he's just not in the NBA anymore. I don't think. He might be on some roster and no one cares about him. But so I think and then there's some guys like Wemby where it's that dude's he's ready. So it's different for everyone. I just think every kid was so confident in themselves being those guys that like, oh, I'm just as skilled as Devin Booker is getting out of college. It's like, no, you're not. Like you're very raw athletically and you could be amazing, but you need to figure this shit out. So I think, and you're getting that for free too. So it's not just the college. It is also that, and I mean, people who aren't athletes are hundreds of $1,000s in debt. So it's not like, that's not something to just be like, oh, fuck it, you're giving free school. That means nothing. But I do agree with you. They should be able to make money.
Yeah, it's definitely not that it doesn't mean anything, but those dudes aren't there for school, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, but a lot of them need. That's the thing too. Is because a lot of them do need to be. Yeah. Like even if you get past the one and dones, a lot of these guys, a lot of people who are like top 10 prospects don't even coming out of high school don't even end up going to the NBA or the NFL. So it's like you might think you're going to be in the NBA and you might think you're going to have a 15-year career, but what happens if you get hurt? Like you're going to need other.
What I'm saying is like those dudes will go to school, get a 30 on their test, and like the test will come back 2 days later. He's got an 85.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So like, I mean, I do get what you're saying, and like people like us or anybody who went to college, I don't know, I said us, but would obviously appreciate that so much more. But like those dudes aren't like that's not what like Reggie Bush doesn't care if he's getting like has like the best teachers and all that. It's like
absolutely.
So it is hard to
Reggie Bush.
It's hard to separate the top of the line guys compared to the middle of the line guys.
And football more than anything, like you go back and there's like a TikTok account I follow and they go back to like, where are the top 10 recruits from 2009? And you see these guys who are like top 10 in the country. They were better prospects than Caleb and all these other dudes and just never even make the NFL. They like Justin Shorter he's in the NFL. He's obviously on the Bills, but he was like a top 40 prospect in the country, did nothing in college. And he's probably going to be like a special teams guy for the majority of his career, where you're not making enough money doing that to live for the rest of your life. So it's like I don't know. We kind of got off target here, but that shit you need, you should be paying attention to them classes.
Yeah.
You should be trying to pick some of this stuff
future
up
for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, moving towards, it's a good segue because we're talking about college guys going in the NFL now. Second mock draft coming through. The top 4 have not and will not change. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison.
May and Daniels could flip though?
I think it's possible, but I think it's more of a conversation to sell on TV than it is
Do you think
a real
May's
belief.
pretty certain to go 2 in your mind?
Yeah, you never know with the draft. Maybe I'm just being like adding my bias to it, but I just don't see how you give up. Like, how do you give up a guy like that?
Right.
I mean, unless you really want a guy who can run the ball.
And no JJ McCarthy at all.
In my opinion, no. And
Yeah,
I like him more than you do, but in my opinion, no. I was warming up on him, maybe being the Jaden Daniels conversation, but no, Jaden Daniels, as much as I hate the size, like everything else about him is worth the risk. So you just take the risk.
Yeah.
At 3, and that's where him and Drake May are like, it's completely. I don't really see the risk in Drake May. Anyone can be bad. Even as sure as I am about Caleb Williams, there's a possibility that he can be bad. I don't really see it, but it's got to be there, right? No one's 100% coming out of the draft. I just don't see where you're finding the reasons Drake May can be bad. And there's a ton of reasons to believe why he can be amazing. I know Herbert hasn't really won anything, but he's got all of those tools that made Herbert a rookie sensation. And then hopefully as an organization, you do better by Drake May than the Chargers have by Justin Herbert up to this point. Tools wise, I don't see it. Like, I get it. Jaden Daniels has the best deep ball in the draft, him and Penix. But there's a reason Penix isn't going in at almost any first rounds. It's like, you got to be able to do more than throw a deep ball once you get to the NFL level, and you're not going to be able to run the way he runs. Like, it's easy to say you can slide and do all these things, but if you watch Jaden Daniels, that's not how he plays football. I don't know how he's made it through college playing the way he plays football. He'll see 3 people ahead of him and think, I can dive through these fuckers and get the touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, so
he'll get broken in half trying that in the NFL.
Yeah. So the clear difference between those two, I think Drake May can make more of the intermediate throws. I think Jaden Daniels does have a better deep ball, but he also had way better targets that made him look good. We watched the highlights last night. I mean, Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors were open on 90% of those throws. He had 2 of the fastest receivers in football, and he made a lot of really good throws. So then I had Marvin Harrison going to the Cardinals, obviously. Then first trades in my mocks going forward, I have the Vikings going up to 5 with the Chargers.
Would you have them paying?
The 2 first this year to their first next year. It could even be more than that, honestly. The only reason I think that gets it done is because I don't really see a lot of teams that are going to want to trade up. It's basically going to be them, Vegas maybe, and Denver maybe.
So a pick swap and then 2 more on top.
Yeah, so you're only moving back 6 spots, and then you're getting 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, that'd be good. 23 this year, and then
11, 23, and then whatever you have next year. Which you want. If you're the Chargers, you hope J.J. McCarthy's not that good. J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings at 5. Then I have Malik Neighbors. Now the quarterback's off the board. Giants only can go one way, in my opinion. Malik Neighbors to the Giants at 6. No, dude. Joe's not here, but I'll say it for him. Joe wants to trade up into the top 10. Come on. 1, it's going. He's like, 2 first and a second. That's not getting it done. I would be so surprised if that got it done. Maybe 9. Maybe 9. I could see 2 first and a second getting done. They already have so much capital. Maybe they take the 2 firsts. I don't know, but I just don't think it gets it done. Like I wouldn't be surprised about the Bears pick getting traded, but we're not getting up to 6. So maybe and you said Odunze you like more than Neighbors.
Yeah,
personally. Maybe the Giants like Odunze more, and then Neighbors because that's who Joe likes is Neighbors falls to 9, and then Chicago's willing to make that move. I still don't want to do that. I don't want to give up. The Bills are not a complete team right now. And we'll get to them, and I'll get more into it, but we're not in the position that we should be giving up first-round picks, unless you think Neighbors is legit the next Tyreek Hill, or if you think Rome Odunze is the next Devontae Adams. They have to be that good,
right? If
you're giving up 2 firsts and a second to make it worth it. I mean, even those guys didn't go for that much, and I get it; they were older at the time, but I'm not in that camp. Now, if it happened, I'd fucking buy a Neighbors jersey tomorrow, but Not for me. Joe Alt, another one of these picks that's not going to change for me.
That's Tennessee.
Tennessee. They're going to draft a tackle. Alt's my favorite. If they draft a different tackle, fine, but it's always going to be a tackle, in my opinion. Then I have Roma Dunze going to the Falcons at 8, sticking with what we did on our. And the Falcons have a lot of other needs, but they have other picks as well. They got some money they can throw around. I don't know how much more after the Kirk Cousins thing, but come on.
Yeah, it would be sick. I think they're going to go corner or like Dallas Turner or somewhere along that line. But if they went receiver, I think it'd be sick just to load up. Just be like, screw it. Just you got to outscore. You got to be able to stop this offense with Bijan, London, Adunze, and Kyle Pitts.
And Adunze fits. I mean, Drake London's like the physical guy. Go up and get it. Adunze is an elite route runner who can get open anywhere. Kyle Pitts, even though he's the tight end of the group, very explosive, can be a deep threat, can open up the outside of the field running seam routes, that kind of thing. And then obviously Bijan. So I'm not – if they did corner, that would be a good move. I'm probably going to go between Rome and Quignon or Terry Arnold there. I know they need an edge. I'm not sold on any of the edges in this draft. I have Verse falling pretty far in this, and it might not be realistic. But
I can see Verse going to Atlanta there.
He's a really good run defender, but do you see him becoming an elite pass rusher in the NFL? I mean,
yeah, it's tough.
Like
going into last year, I would
10.
have told you,
yeah.
But he obviously didn't perform as well as I thought he should have on a loaded defense in college. So I get why he's falling compared to last year.
And my draft philosophy is very much what the Bills were when they were bad. You just draft you draft the best player, man. You don't pass on Roma Dunze, who could end up being Devontae Adams, for Jared Verse, who I don't really see the path for him being a Myles Garrett, or I don't see. I mean, he could be. We see it happen where these guys get drafted in the 3rd round, and what was TJ Watt, end of 1st, early 2nd?
Yeah, I always wanted the Packers to take him too.
So we do see it happen. I just don't see. I think the difference in talent and potential for a Dunze or even a Quignon Mitchell over a Jared Verse there, I'm taking one of those two players every time.
Yeah, I definitely can see the corner. I don't think they'll take a receiver, but it just would be fun.
Speaking of, though, I do have Dallas Turner going at 9. I do think I have a couple players above him talent-wise, but it is a need for the Bears, and they're able to do that because of all the draft capital they have.
Yeah, I can see them trading back. I can see them trading up. There's a rumor they want Caleb and Marvin Harrison. That would be wild. That'd be sick. But yeah, the Bears have a lot of different ways they can go, whether they want to move up, down, keep the pick. There's a lot of things that they can do.
Yeah, and I don't know if Dallas Turner will be elite, but I do think he'll be really good, and you're getting him at 9, fits a need, whatever. Then I have Fashanu going to the Jets, and that's another pick that could go a million different ways. I had Brock Bowers going to them last time, and
it'll be offensive, I think, though, for sure.
Yeah, their defense is, I think, already good. Saleh probably is confident in himself as a defensive coach to make what they have work. They have a ton of talent over there already.
Yeah.
They really can go anywhere, though. If for some reason, I mean, Adunze can easily not go to the Falcons and then also not go to the Bears. Like, Adunze can easily be there.
Yeah, Adunze,
especially if the Chargers
Bowers.
trade back, if it's this scenario.
Right.
Adunze or Neighbors, whoever the 3rd receiver that gets taken, can easily be there at 10. And if I think it rolls out that way, I think they do that.
Yeah, but it's going to be somebody on the offense. It's going to be to protect Rodgers or somebody for him to throw the ball to.
And then obviously Bowers can go there. I think tackle is the smart move. I'd really have to think about it between that and a receiver. I think
Adunze was there, though. They should go there.
Yeah.
Just because, like, you signed Mike Williams as like a rental, and he's always hurt. So why not just have you have Garrett Wilson and Adunze for a lot of years, like you're set.
Yeah, and if not, you get Fashanu. He'll probably have to start a couple games this year with Smith pretty much going down. Malone is older as well. So that brings up the Chargers at 11, and they traded back, and they get Talise Fuaga. None of the receivers they could go Brian Thomas this early. I don't think they would. They also need offensive line help. They could trade back again, too. They also, they need a lot, and I think Harbaugh is – you got to think not just about team need, but team culture.
He's going to want to build his own guy. So I think if they traded back twice and just started gaining a bunch of assets, I think wouldn't be a horrible move. But I like where you have them going if they were to stay there.
They do have Slater and they do have Zion Johnson, who can be really good on the left side, but they need to start building that right side of their offensive line. Talise Fuaga could be the best tackle in this draft. I mean, I see a lot of people who have him ranked above Fashanu and Joe Alt. But I think they go tackle there. And then I have Quinyon Mitchell, my favorite corner, coming off the board at 12. Gives Broncos that elite quarterback or cornerback tandem. Patrick Surtain, Quinyon Mitchell. If Surtain starts getting old and loses a step, they have a guy to come in right behind him.
Yeah, there's no quarterback to take there, so just build elsewhere.
People are saying that Penix has a chance to go up there.
I've seen one Bo Nix go in there. I just think that's such a reach. Like, why wouldn't you trade back and gain assets at that point?
And I get that you're nervous. So if you're the Broncos, the next Broncos, Raiders, Saints all could theoretically draft a quarterback. I don't think the Saints do because they're still paying Derek Carr. I think they put that off another year, or they do it in the second round, which they don't in my draft. But I don't see why are you using a first round pick. For some reason, they still want to win.
Yeah.
I was telling Murray earlier, I would trade everyone over the age of 28 on my team that had any value and rebuild. I mean, you're just not winning with this team.
Right.
You're like Derek Carr is not who I thought he was. He's not who the Saints thought he was. And Bo Nix is not going to walk, or Michael Penix or whoever you think the guy is not going to walk in with this roster.
Yeah.
You got Olave is sick. Who else do you have?
Yeah.
You have Kamara who's still showing some flashes. The offensive line's decent. I would get rid of everyone.
The only good thing for the Saints is the division they're in. When I think of Denver, it's like you're not gonna. Not only are you not gonna beat Mahomes, you're not even gonna come close to competing with them for the division. So why would you just force and draft an old quarterback in Penix or Nix? You know what I mean? Like, I just think you draft Mitchell or an amazing player like that that's going to be around for 10 plus years, and you're hoping he's a Hall of Famer, and then you get your quarterback whenever else.
And Surtain's still young.
Yeah.
Surtain's still young. So you're still going to have that for 3-4 years.
When you then can maybe beat Kansas City.
Yeah, like knock on wood, he doesn't get hurt, but Surtain's 27?
Yeah, he's not old.
Was it 3 years ago, 4 years ago? He's not old at all.
Yeah.
He's still in the prime of his career. And you can flip the script in the NFL very quickly, but you're not doing it with Penix, I don't think. He can be a good quarterback. I just don't see him being a life-changing.
And it's not like the players around this rookie quarterback is great.
Yeah, I mean, they're another team where I don't think they will because Sean Payton, he wants to win. But they're another team where I'm like, I'm getting what I can for Cortland Sutton. I'm getting what I can for if you're not elite and young and I don't want to build around you, let me just get picks or let me get other young players that I want to take a risk on. They're in this middle ground where I thought I kind of was saying to Damon and them about the Steelers. The Steelers, I trust so much more in team building than I trust them to be competitive. Mm-hmm. Just get rid of these guys. Get your money back.
They're so scared to be in bad because they want to sell tickets. All they care about is the money.
So then I have Fontenot and Mims, another 2 tackles coming off the board, back with the Raiders and the Saints. They both need tackles. You build in the trenches. I think Mims and Fontenot are at 13-14 is good value. Here, hate to see it for Harry, but Cooper DeJean, after his pro day, runs a 4.43, 38-inch vertical. I think he put all the safety shit to rest. I mean, he is the athlete. And for how big and strong he is, like those aren't crazy athletic numbers, but for how good he's expected to be in run defense and stuff as well, I think he puts himself as the second or third best corner. I still love Quinyon Mitchell above him. So I have him going to the Colts.
Which I'd be fine with. I think there's so many great corners in this class that I'd be happy as long as we get any of them. But yeah, I think you're right. After his pro day, Green Bay would have to trade up if he was the guy, but we'll see.
Then I have the first defensive tackle coming off the board, Johnny Newton to the Seahawks at 16. Just seems like a Seahawks move, build in the trenches. They're good at receiver. Their offensive line's pretty decent. Johnny Newton goes off the board there. Then I have Terrion Arnold going to the Jaguars. This is a pick that they can go anywhere. I didn't know where to go. They do need a great corner.
Pick. Yeah, I would love that for them.
They need a corner. They need a wide receiver. They need some defensive.
I don't think they'll need I don't think they'll look at it as they need a receiver though. I think they'll chill with early on with what do they got? Kirk, Gabe, like Zay Jones and shit.
I don't know if they're keeping Zay because I think he's still on the roster, but when they signed Gabe, like people were like, oh, basically Gabe's just does the same thing as Zay at a higher level. But we'll see.
Yeah, they got Evan Ingram. They picked up Duvernay. I mean, it's not like an amazing room, but I think that would be the pick.
They need corner and Terrion Arnold at 17. And then I have Brock Bowers to the Bengals. Joe Burrow likes his tight ends. T. Higgins, I think, stays there. Every day that passes, it kind of solidifies him staying there for one more year and them trying to win a Super Bowl. And I think at this point, Brock Bowers
That'd be an unbelievable value.
Yeah.
I think him or Johnny Newman will be the Bengals pick, depending on how the board falls. If one of them's available, that's who I believe will be a Bengal.
I think Brock Bowers gives them the most immediate chance to win a Super Bowl this year. Like, you keep Higgins for one more year. You get Bowers. He's obviously not the same player Tyler Boyd is, tight end, more of a slot receiver, but you just got a possession guy, and Bowers can do a million things. Like, he can be Kittle. I mean, he's not as the blocker Kittle is yet, but he can develop into that.
You're getting a top 5 prospect at 18.
Yeah. And at that point, it starts becoming a value too. Yeah. Where, like, if you pick tight end within the top 10, they're only like the 13th highest paid tight end. You're not really getting that much value at 18 as that cap hit starts going down. And if you're a Super Bowl contending team, you're picking at 18. I think you just get that fucking blue chip player. You're not expecting to be in a position to get guys like that anymore. I could also see him getting Brian Thomas, but instead I have the Bills trading up 19 to get Brian Thomas. Just like the Vikings, I don't see why you do what you do to get draft capital if you're not using it to fill your biggest need.
Yeah.
I didn't there's no reason for the Vikings to get another first round pick if it's not to
that far from the draft too. They wanted to make sure they had it.
And I think it's the same thing with the Bills.
And you just don't think they can move up where Joe wants them to, but you think they did it.
I think he's spot on with moving up and his logic in why they are going to move up. I think I agree 100%. We agree on that part. Moving up into the top 10, though, is completely different. So in this scenario, and it might cost more, it might cost less. I gave pick 128. I gave in this year's draft, pick 28 in this year's draft, and then a second rounder next year. It might cost a third rounder next year. It's only 9 spots, but I think they think the Bills are desperate enough. This is with the Rams. The Rams are also another team where I think they need to load up. They went through all those years saying fuck draft picks. They won their Super Bowl. Now they need these draft picks. They got
to build their defense back up.
So whether it's a second next year, a third next year, I think a second has to get it done. You're moving up 9 spots and getting a second round pick. But we are able to do that with the Stefon Diggs. I think right now we're supposed to have 2 seconds next year, 2 thirds next year. So we have some capital next year that we can use this year to move up and get, hopefully, who ends up being a true number 1, Brian Thomas Jr. If he's not, I've said his name 1 million times and I'm going to look really fucking stupid, but they get my guy. And I think a guy perfect for the Bills. We had Cody Stutz on Tank Talk yesterday. He's a writer with the Texans. And he also said like Thomas is probably out of all these guys, the best fit for the Bills. I think he can do a lot right now, and he has the talent to do what he's not known for. He's not known for having an amazing route tree, but he's efficient with his footwork. He gets out of his breaks quick. He has the foundation to build a route tree right now, and then he's going to step in next year and immediately be a deep threat, and then hopefully develop those things that allow him to be a true number 1. And he just fits with what we have already. Like Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Kincaid, they're not going to struggle with getting open.
Right.
If Brian Thomas isn't open every play, it's fine. He's going to be open someplace down the field for Josh Allen to get him the ball. Best ball tracking skills in this draft, arguably, to me. And then J.C. Latham to the Steelers at 20. They need a tackle. They need interior offensive line. They like building through the trenches in the draft. That's kind of a no-brainer to me. Byron Murphy. I could also see them doing like JPJ there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Byron Murphy to the Dolphins. They need to replace Christian Wilkins. Byron Murphy could be the best defensive tackle in this draft. Kool-Aid McKinstry goes off the board to the Eagles. They need a couple things. Cornerback.
I think they're going to go corner. Yeah.
And I think Kool-Aid's a good value there. Then I have this one I was going back and forth on too. I know the Chargers will be up at 23 after their trade with Minnesota. I know they do need a receiver, but I mean, with guys like JPJ on the board and stuff there, does Harbaugh just want to have the Michigan offensive line where it's just 5 guys who can make a Pro Bowl every single year?
Right.
So I could easily see him doing something like that. I can see him drafting Graham Barton out of Duke, who I think has a really good chance at being a Pro Bowl type interior offensive lineman, but I gave him Adonai Mitchell. They need receivers. I kind of have some of the same concerns with Mitchell as I do about Quentin Johnson. Big, strong, fast, but for some reason doesn't get open like they should.
What's his name?
Adonai Mitchell.
Really? I always thought it was Adonai.
I think it's Adonai.
That's funny as hell.
AD Mitchell, whatever it is.
I don't want to be saying
Johnny
the wrong
Mitchell.
name. Yeah. But yeah, I would like that pick for them a lot. You know, I'm big on him. So
yeah, I was saying yesterday, I'm either in love with him or hate him. Every time I look at him, every time I read about him, he does have a lot of things, and he could end up being we've seen guys like this who struggled in college. Like we've seen Corey Coleman, who never put it together. He had all the size and the speed and all that, and we've seen. I'm trying to think of someone else. I don't want to say AJ Brown struggled getting open in college, but there's a reason he went in the second round, even though he's a physical freak. So that's where he's such a risky pick for me. But I think I think he's worth. I like him more than Quentin Johnson. I'll tell you that much. It just scares me if I'm a Chargers fan. We just drafted a guy who's big, fast freak who couldn't get open. And
that's why they'll probably end up not trading back and taking Neighbors to.
That's what I agree. That's what yeah. I mean, there's a chance, but I think I don't know if you're Harbaugh and you're seeing what you have nothing. You need so many pieces. It's so tough to give up 3 first-round picks for one, especially when you're not known for even throwing the ball.
Right.
Maybe he'll be
Herbert,
yeah. Maybe he'll be like, I'm going to change my, and he should. But you see how fucking stubborn these coaches are, man. Mm-hmm. And then we have Tyler Guyton going off the board to the Cowboys. I think they need an interior offensive lineman and a tackle in this draft. Guyton's my favorite that's left. I almost gave him Graham Barton, but we're going to give him Guyton there. Then I have you guys getting Nate Wiggins at 25. I think that's also great value. It could go. Kool-Aid could go after him. Kool-Aid could go before him.
If we get Graham Barton or one of these corners, sign me up.
Yeah.
I just don't want to take a safety with that pick. I seen a few mocks. I was taking Tyler Newman, I think it was, but I want a corner or an offensive lineman with this pick, unless they did some crazy shit and took a receiver, which they never do. If they're going to do something different, I'd want it to be a receiver always, but I just want a corner or offensive lineman. Yeah,
even though there's a ton of great corners in this draft, a lot of them are skinny. I think obviously Cooper DeJean's not. What's his name? Quinyon Mitchell is not. But a lot of these guys are 180 pounds. But I mean, that's new NFL.
Yeah. I just think getting that guy opposite of Jair with the direction our team's already going in, having to kind of what you were saying about Denver, we could have a similar situation, but with a really good team now.
Yeah.
I think would be awesome.
And then I have Latu. This is probably the next 2 picks are probably the best value in the draft. And if it goes this way I have Latu going over Jared Verse to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Biggest need. I like Latu a lot more than Verse. I see the pathway for him becoming an elite edge rusher more than I do.
I see him going to Atlanta at 9.
I do too. Yeah.
Those dudes are so close that one of them are going to be happy with how early they're drafted, and the other ones are going to fall possibly out of the first round or late first round.
I don't think they're. I have them way higher than 25 or 26 and 27. As players, it's just all these teams need tackles. All these teams everything above them thus far has been bigger need, and they're arguably just as talented. Brock Bowers, one of the best picks, one of the best guys in the draft. I mean, Terry and none of it's. I know people are going to hear this and be Jared Verse is going top 15 in almost every draft, but it's if one of these teams that needs an edge passes over him, he can free fall.
There's not
we
a lot
see
of
it all the
spots that
time.
he's just gonna be guaranteed to go in the top 15.
And we've seen the Falcons repeatedly do this. I mean, I'm trying to remember the receiver before Roddy White, but they had a really good receiver, drafted Roddy White. Then that guy left. They had Roddy White. He was the top 10 receiver in the league. They draft Julio Jones and they trade up to do it. And they do this all the time. They drafted Kyle Pitts. They draft Drake London. That's their philosophy.
It has,
and they do have a defensive.
So I wonder if they need to change that.
They got to a Super Bowl on it. They were a perennial playoff team when Matt Ryan was there. They haven't had a quarterback, so
that's true. They were good with Ryan. They had a lot of.
They do have a defensive head coach, but he's coming from an offensive.
And he brought his coordinator with him, right? Or they brought
Zach Robinson.
Yeah.
So even though he is a D coordinator, he's coming from an offensive tree. And maybe he's confident in himself with the players they have that he can make the defense serviceable while making that offense absolutely elite. So Latu and Verse fall back to back here for the Buccaneers and the Cardinals. The Cardinals absolutely murder this draft if it ends up going this way. And then for the 3rd pick in a row, edge rusher Chop Robinson to LA. And then just to round it out, Keon Coleman to the Lions, Graham Barton to the Ravens, Kingsley Sumatia.
He's a beast.
To San Fran, and
he'll be a beast at San Fran too. I can just see that him being the next Pro Bowler that those teams just don't miss.
And then
just luck out.
Graham Barton to the Ravens is just the most Ravens thing ever. Some guy who's probably the best guard in the draft, but because there's so many tackles, they just get lucky because this is the first draft in like the history of ever that there's probably 10 starting tackles in the first round. So the best guard in the draft falls at 28 to him. And then they just have Graham Barton next to Tyler Lindenbaum for the next 10 years.
There's one thing I did see on Packers Twitter was Graham Barton's odd-wise is the favorite to be the Packers pick, which I'd be really happy with.
And that kind of fits what you guys usually go trenches. I mean, usually defensively, but and then, Steve gets mad when he watches this episode and Ladd McConkey goes to the Chiefs.
Yeah, he'd be sick. Because not only does you guys trade up to not get his guy, but then the Chiefs get his guy.
I'm interested to see why he likes Ladd McConkey more than Brian Thomas, or if he just doesn't want to trade up. I did see that he doesn't want to trade up. Mm-hmm. He's a little more timid than me when it comes to drafting. And I'm usually more like him too. Like if we didn't need this, I'd like just staying where you are. I don't like giving a ton of assets away, especially because Bean drafts better late than he does early, which is weird. Mm-hmm. So it's like I don't want to give up third round picks, but Brian Thomas is an exception, man. I'm telling you, that guy's gonna be a fucking.
That's not a horrible trade up, anyways. Like you're not breaking the bank to move up to 5 or something.
And it's still young, cheap, and fast, and that's what Steve is talking about. Second round, I'm not going to go through it all, but just some big picks here. Jackson Powers-Johnson easily could be a first-round pick, but he falls to the Panthers here, who also get Ricky Pearsall at 39. Finally start doing something good for Bryce Young. I say finally, like he's only not been there for a year.
They don't have the Bears got their first-round pick.
Yeah.
Like, damn, who'd they take in the first round and they suck, and then I forgot they made that horrible trade.
I have Chris Jenkins, who I really like, probably the most athletic defensive tackle in this draft, going back to his head coach from Michigan at the Chargers at 37.
That'd be nice.
I have you guys getting Peyton Wilson at 41.
That'd be fire.
Michael Penix gets off the board at 44 to the Raiders. And then where am I? Where's the other go? Bo Nix to the Rams at 52. I think that's a good area for him. A good coach. He gets to sit behind Stafford for a couple years, and he's in an offensive system where he can just be a Brock Purdy type. Just make good decisions. You don't have to be a world beater. And then you guys get Cooper again at 58. So double up on the linebacker.
Yeah, I at least want one of them. If we got them both, that'd be nuts.
And then I have Javon Bullard going to the Bills at 60. Some people think that's a reach. I think he's perfect for our system. Really good instincts, kind of a hybrid guy, good in zone and good in run defense. He's not really fast, but neither was Poyer and Hyde. I think in our system, I think he'd do really well. Another team should wait till like the third round, but I think McDermott gets the most out of safeties and corners. I think that's probably all for the big picks in the second round. I have the Eagles just murdering the draft again, getting Cameron Kitchens at 50 and someone else. They just always do good. But yeah, how would you feel? I was not going to get Cooper, but then Cooper fell to you guys, and it's like, why not have two great linebackers who?
Yeah, I mean,
you guys don't really have a lot of weaknesses. Both of the good safeties were off the board, unless you guys would want to get a guy like Bullard. But like at this point, you have two starting corners. Your defensive line was good last year. There was no really guards that wouldn't have been a reach there for you. So I was like, whatever. You get two starting.
Yeah, I definitely want one of those two guys. So if we got them both, I wouldn't be mad. The way I'm looking at it is I do believe it'll be corner, linebacker, and offensive lineman with our top 3 picks. But like you said, if it falls a certain way where all the offensive linemen become reach and those guys are both available, why would you pass that up or trade out? If you think somebody else will pay a good amount to get those players and you don't want both, then yeah, trade back.
I was thinking about having you guys like trade up, get like a Cooper Beebe, who I have going to the Bengals in this one. They need interior help, or Patrick Paul's a tackle, but there's been talk that they move him to the inside. I was thinking about like kind of getting you guys to trade up. But I don't know if those guys are worth trading up.
Yeah, we have the ammo to make a move like that. And I also wouldn't be surprised if we just kept gaining assets and moving back if there's nobody there that we love. So I'm excited about the draft with all the picks that we have and not having as many needs. I think this is going to be a huge draft for Green Bay moving forward. If we're going to become a Super Bowl team, I think we got to really smoke this draft.
Yeah, that was a big thing I talked about yesterday on Tank Talk too with the Bills, and the reason I'm more willing to trade up. It's I think what got lost which we didn't even really talk about the stuff, Stefon Diggs, I meant to kind of talk about beforehand, before the mock draft. I think there's 3 question marks here, and I think it goes all around. I think Stefon Diggs, I know every receiver is kind of a headache. Every elite receiver, not every one of them, but a lot of them are just usually kind of headaches. Not so more than newer guys, but previously. I mean, you really haven't heard anything about Chase Jefferson, Devontae Adams. You don't really hear that kind of stuff about those guys, but at all the guys growing up, all the elite guys were kind of nutcases. And I never thought that Diggs was that bad, but it was just a little fucking like sneak disses. The day before he got traded, he said that basically insinuated that Josh Allen needed him to be good. And it's like the complaining in the playoffs, complaining about his usage. And it's like, dude, I know your targets went from basically top 10 in the first half to like 30th in the second half, but you still led the team in targets by a lot. And you weren't even the leading receiver on the team. You let Khalil Shakir was a 3rd or 4th round pick. You let Shakir come in his sophomore year and get more yards than you on half the amount of targets. It doesn't matter how you're being used. If you're an elite receiver and you're getting twice as many targets and you're getting less yards than Khalil Shakir, guess what? That's not on everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, that's not on everyone else. Like, and then the fact that you're yelling at Josh Allen last year when we're getting our ass beat by the Bengals or whatever, then this year we have a chance to beat the Chiefs. You do everything you need to do. You get open. Josh Allen makes one of the greatest throws I've ever seen in my life, and you drop it. And it's like, it's never his fault. But I mean, I'm not happy about the trade because we're worse next year. I mean, I think the Bills are kind of admitting. Brandon Beane saying we're still going to try and win. I know they're still going to try and win, and as long as you have Josh Allen, you are a Super Bowl contender. But this is clearly our worst team over the past couple of years, and that's okay. I'm not mad about that. It sucks that we're losing Diggs, but at the end of the day, I think Diggs doesn't take the responsibility that needs to be taken, and him even insinuating that Josh Allen needs him to be a good player when they both elevated each other. Yeah. Like people who hate Josh Allen love to say that Diggs made him, but it's like Diggs had like 1,053 yards. That was his high his first 3 years or 4 years in Minnesota. He completely annihilated that as soon as getting with Josh Allen, and same vice versa. But the difference was Josh Allen was only in the NFL for 2 years at that point, and everyone knew he was a work in progress. So is Josh Allen going to have an easier time next year? Absolutely fucking not. But to insinuate that he's not good without you.
Yeah. I think it's exciting too that everybody said Tyreek Hill made Mahomes. And once Tyreek Hill left, Mahomes wins 2 Super Bowls, 1 MVP, and 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I think this is a huge opportunity now for Josh Allen to shut all those people up, including Stefon Diggs.
And where that gets, and now that brings me to Brandon Beane, where it's like, you need to annihilate this draft. Like, this needs to be like a career-defining draft. That if you're going to give up Diggs, and there's positives to it, there's negatives to it. And I've said, if they trade up and get a really good receiver, I love the trade. If they don't, I hate the trade. Because what's the point of having a 2nd-round pick next year? Like, really?
And you're paying $30 million or whatever for this year.
Yeah. I'm not going to say a 2nd round's useless. I mean, Keenan Allen went for a 4th, but Keenan Allen's a year older and has way more injury issues, even though he was better last year when he was on the field.
Right.
To take the cap hit, and they're not taking a cap hit in LA. They're saving a ton of money too. So to take the cap hit, to give up, regardless of all the things I just said, Stefon Diggs was still the best receiver on the team, bar none. To give that up for a 2nd-round pick in the future, not even this year, while taking this dead cap, you gotta show us why
and where you sent Diggs.
Yeah, you sent him to. I legit think that Houston, and we can see a sophomore slump from Stroud, and none of this will matter. But I don't think that's going to happen. Right. I legit think Houston is the 2nd most talented team in the NFL, and after the draft, if they use those picks right, will not have a weakness. Like they are in an area where they're only picking in the 2nd round, but they can pick anyone there. Yeah. They can pick a guy who's not going to play for them next year. They can just pick whoever the best player is because they don't have a weakness. They could use a young defensive tackle, which I have them taking Aurora or however you say his name in that. They like Autry is a really good defensive tackle, but he's older. So they can use a guy next to him that's younger. They could use some more linebackers, but they don't have a weakness on their team. I know they got smacked by Baltimore, but they already were a playoff team this year.
Yeah, they already like over exceeded their expectations by far.
So then you send Diggs there where it's like, if you do want to compete for a Super Bowl, obviously Mahomes is the main guy you got to beat, but you
got Diggs, you got Mixon.
Yeah, you just built
Tank Dell
the Texans up more.
Yeah.
You need to show us
the 2nd-round pick will also suck.
No, it's Minnesota's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That at least I like that.
Yeah.
That's next year's.
Yeah.
Oh, so that should be a good second. So that
It should be though, but what it like Houston's pick this year was supposed to be a great pick for.
No, I know, but if
JJ McCarthy goes in there and he's just good, not great, just good, and he has all these weapons and they're for some reason winning shootouts like Minnesota did 2 years ago.
No, yeah, I get it. But if you were getting Houston, you were solidified a bottom 10.
Unless there's injuries or whatever.
Now I think you're guaranteed at least a top like 12, 13. So that makes me feel a little bit better. But yeah, like I don't know. Like you sent Diggs to a team that you play on the schedule this year. You're going to be competing for home field advantage with the AFC Championship. If you would have sent him to like Vegas or wherever, I mean, I know these teams wouldn't have taken Diggs because they're not in that position. So I'm sure the Bills were limited to what teams would take on a 30-year-old receiver with locker room issues. Dallas, I guess, would have been where I would have wanted to send him if I was Buffalo because I know how bad he wanted to play with his brother. But there's something there. Like, I mean, obviously, yeah, the Bills want to move up and that's why they did it or whatever. But at the same time, like you just don't pay that type of money, give away that type of player in the prime of Josh Allen's career to the team like the Texans.
So it's a huge risk. And I think they did it completely right by Diggs. And if Diggs finds a way to complain, I've always said Diggs was one of the most targeted guys on one of the best teams in the NFL with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He had nothing to complain about. One team wins the Super Bowl every year. And I love the competitiveness of that. You're going to cry afterwards or whatever. I love that competitiveness, but don't blame it on anything else.
Yeah.
You were in a perfect position. I mean, there's not a receiver in the NFL that was in a better position than you. I mean, sure, Rice won a Super Bowl, but it's like he's getting paid $5 million a year. You're getting paid top 5 receiver money playing with Josh Allen and playing in the playoffs every year. Like,
and even in the playoffs game, like I know the attention that Diggs drew from Kansas City allowed Gabe Davis to have that game. But when you look at the best receivers, Jerry Rice, you look at the playoffs that Larry Fitzgerald, Travis Kelce. I know he's a tight end, but like those dudes are still putting up crazy numbers. Somehow you had 3 catches for 7 yards or whatever. And then last year we talked about he didn't do much. He dropped the long pass. So it's like, what are we complaining about? Like a lot of that shit's still on you. You're not getting the job done. So when you're standing there watching the Kansas City's parade in the AFC divisional game, that's what that year, like, or no, it was the AFC Championship the first year where he stood and watched it, right?
Yeah.
And then the next year he followed it with a 3 for 7 game or whatever.
The 13 seconds.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I don't really want to talk about too much about that side about it, but I think it's the perfect place for him. You get a guy like Stroud who is going to take the underneath stuff. You have a guy like Collins who's going to take the top off the defense. I was praying for a Brian Thomas, Stefon Diggs duo because that's so good. That's so good for what Diggs does, especially as he gets older in his career. And so this move it made little to no sense for either side, in my opinion. Like at first I was like, okay, you traded the 2nd round pick. I get Diggs is kind of old, but you have team control over him for the next 3 years. Like you could have just kept him on this contract, which isn't that bad considering guys are about to get paid over $30 million. So it was like, okay, 2nd round pick for that. Not crazy. But then you cut off they only have him next year now.
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants. It's like, okay, so if you don't win the Super Bowl next year, you just gave up a 2nd for no reason.
Right.
In my opinion. And then on the Bills side, if you don't use it to move up and get a guy to replace Diggs, you just got a 2nd for not no reason. A 2nd's nothing to laugh at, but not the right reason.
Like, if you don't hit on pick 28 for to replace Diggs, like what's the 2nd round pick really going to do for you at that point?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I mean, obviously Mahomes is number 1 reason. Chief, the number 1 and 2 reasons, Mahomes, Andy Reid. That's always going to be the number 1 reason that everyone is chasing the Chiefs. Number 3 reason, and people don't give it enough credit. I know we do here. We've talked about it a lot. They kill drafts. The Bills, the Bengals, the Ravens do well in drafts, but they're not to the point of where they're getting like L'Jarius Sneed and McDuffie's at like the end of you know what I'm saying? Like these guys that are chasing the Chiefs don't do as well in the drafts. The Bengals don't do as well in the drafts. At least they haven't since they've had top 10 picks. The Bills, I mean, you're just in the Brandon Beane era, I can name 4 wasted top 2 picks in the draft. I mean, Cody Ford, Boogie Basham, Kyer Elam, which hopefully he takes a step now that we have a new defensive backs coordinator or a coach. But legit 4 to 5 of your last 7 first and 2nd round picks, not counting last year because we don't know where that's going to go.
Yeah.
Have been ass. Like, think if you hit on 3 of those guys. Think if you hit instead of getting Kyer Elam, you get the right corner.
They say they would have got McDuffie.
Even if we don't get McDuffie, like you can't control they traded ahead of you. But I think there was someone else in that draft. Like I'm not going to think about that. I'm just saying, to say out of those 5 picks that you picked those dudes, Cody Ford, there was tons of dudes after him. Like DK Metcalf, I believe, was in that draft. Like you imagine you hit 2 of those picks, 3 of those picks. You need to do that in this draft. Mm-hmm. And I think you did it last year. I think Kincaid's going to be really good. Torrance was already really good, but you needed it again. Like you legit, it's not good enough that you're finding Terrell Bernard in the 3rd round, as awesome as that is. That's one player. Like we need to go into this draft and we need to leave this draft with guys that are going to contribute this year and become really good players moving forward.
Right.
And that's the only way this trade makes sense. I mean, you're kind of giving up on this year. You can say all you want. The Bills are not as good this year as they were last year or the years prior. Simple as that. You are resetting your cap and you're building your second iteration of your team. The iteration that we saw Drew Brees win a Super Bowl on, it wasn't his first team with the Saints. It was like the second iteration. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I just don't see that without getting a guy that is elite in the first round. So we'll see how I feel about the pick moving forward. But I think Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs, and Brandon Beane all have question marks going into next year, like legit questions. Diggs, are you going to fucking complain here too? Are you going to elevate your game where you are able to produce if you're not getting 180 targets a game? Right? Like, can you get 5 targets a game and produce, 6 targets a game and produce, and not complain on a team that's going to compete for the Super Bowl? Josh Allen, can you, even if you do get a Brian Thomas, can you elevate these young guys? I think he's elevated Shakir. I think he's elevated Gabe Davis. He's elevated Diggs, but can you legit elevate without a guy like Diggs on your team? And then Breen, was it worth it? Was it worth it to give up the best receiver probably in Bills history for a 2nd round pick? Like, was it worth cutting all of our leaders? Like, are you going to do the right things with these? These are the right steps, I agree. But are you going to be able to be the architect of a team now that you have a limited amount of money and these picks? Can you build a Super Bowl team around Josh Allen again? I mean, you built a team that you thought was a Super Bowl team. It didn't work. Here we go again. Like, can you do it?
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
So yeah, it's going to be not just exciting, but very nerve-wracking for Bills fans, the draft season moving forward. And then even one thing I will say about Beane, I think he's got some moves that he does great in, is those 1-year deals in between training camp and like free agency. All the guys you forgot were out there. He grabs the right guys for the teams and stuff. So Bills fans, if you think going into next year we're as good as we were last year, I think you're wrong. But we had Josh Allen, man. It's legit going to be, I think whoever wins the draft could win the division between the Jets and the Bills. And the Jets got a head start. So
yeah, they have obviously the higher pick and they're all in right now. So their team's going to probably look better on paper anyways.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say is, like, injuries, if we're healthy on defense, we are better on the defensive side next year, but we're never healthy on defense. So I'm not going to hold my breath. But yeah, it's been a crazy offseason. I think once the draft happens, it usually slows down a bit. There's not much to talk about football wise. So next couple of weeks will be interesting. Is there anything I missed?
No.
Any big football moves I can't really think of outside of the Diggs move.
And even when football slows down, then we can get into the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
So that'll be enjoyable.
Yeah. So next week, normally scheduled programming, we'll be here. I will do a 7-round mock. You want to come in with the Packers too?
Yeah.
We'll do a 7-round Packers Bills mock. Not controlling any of the other teams, so I don't want to hear any complaints if the mock looks weird. But yeah, we'll just control the Bills 7 straight rounds. And then the week after that, no Wednesday episode, but we will be live streaming for the draft, and that will be our episode for the week.
That'll be sick.
Drinking game draft.
Special guests.
Yes, a couple special guests, a couple buddies. Some of them are idiots, and they might not say anything that makes any sense, but they'll say some funny stuff.
Some of them 4 teams represented.
Some of them will actually say some really smart shit. It'll be a nice little mixture of people. Get a good buzz going. Probably say some off the wall stuff. I'm really excited for it. So the rules we decided on: if you get the player in position right, you get to give 2 drinks. If everyone gets the player and position right, which I assume number one they will, then no one has to drink.
Right.
If you get the position right or the player right, you get to give one drink. If you get neither right, you have to take a drink.
Okay.
Any trades, everyone takes a shot. Whether you predicted it or not, if there is a trade, everyone takes a shot. Do you think there's anything else I should put in there?
No, that sounds good to me.
There was another thing. Yeah, I think that was it. Any trade shot, and then take a drink if you get pick wrong. Give a drink if you get the pick right. If you get player and position right. I feel like that's 2 drinks. What if everyone gets it right and one person gets it wrong? But have to
Also be 8 drinks.
Yeah, no, let's
whatever.
Let's just do all right. Let's just do 1 drink because 2 drinks. If everyone gets like the 4th pick right, except for one person, I mean, you can give it to anyone. So like we could like give it to each other.
If you get it right, you don't got to drink.
And that's but if I got it right, you got it right. I could give you a drink.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, it works then.
All right, fuck it. We'll stick with what I said. Oh man, it's gonna be fun. All right, yeah. So be on the lookout for that. That's it for today, man.
Yeah,
good episode. Very excited for draft season. It's TrapNerds Sports. Thank you guys for listening. Follow us on all our socials. Peace out.
peace.